So I'm delighted to have the chance to tell you a little bit more about the Meeting Your Shadow workshop in April next year, a retreat for coaches. My aim is to be as pithy as possible whilst giving you a flavour of what the weekend involves. So that's my intention. Let's see how we do. I'm going to share my screen. So, as it says, it's an immersive weekend for coaches. The reason I've used that word is because shadow really comes alive as a felt experience. You can read about it, you can understand it cognitively, but really what we're looking for to truly connect with and understand, it's about dropping down into the body, to really learn and experience the language of shadow, your own language, which is the goal of the weekend, is that you'll start to learn how to speak your own shadow language. To do that, you're going to need to drop into the body. So that's why it's an immersive weekend for coaches. Be theory light and really about start to tune in and experience. And why for coaches? There's this adage, who you are is how you coach. And I think a lot of coaches can understand what that means to some extent. We bring ourselves into the coaching space. The quality of the coaching is dependent on the quality of the relationship that's established. So our ability to create rapport and safety so that the client can do their work is all really vital. And who we are, our presence, is a key part of the kind of core competencies and our skill as a coach. There's an interesting kind of provocation, which is to get you to think about, well, who are you actually? And really what's true for all of us is that we are all that we know ourselves to be, all that's available to us in the field of our conscious awareness. And we're also all of everything else as well. All of that unconscious matter and material, that's part of who we are too. But that's something of a conundrum, isn't it? Because how can we know what we're unconscious of? That's the challenge and the thrill of learning shadow language. Then there are specific ways that we'll learn over the course of the weekend that can help us really tap into and tune into and identify and communicate with these messages that are coming through as shadow pressure. And as coaches, this is so important for us. We do our reflections, but if the field that we're reflecting from and within is the field of our consciousness, but not what we're unconscious of, we're kind of limited in making connections. Why does that particular client piss me off? Why did I get bored? These subtle sort of feelings that emanate through after a session, thinking, I did a lot of psychoeducation in that session. I talk more than I usually do. And we might just kind of shake it off. But learning the language of shadow gives us the way to get really curious about, well, what was going on there? Maybe something was projected onto me that I picked up and ran with. Maybe the client's own wisdom was projected onto me and I felt that inflation, so felt the need to do all of that psychoeducation. So there's a deep, profound, huge opportunity available to us. Learning the language of shadow means that our understanding of who we are, how we coach, widens exponentially. This is why I'm so excited about it. So the weekend itself comprises these different elements. Obviously, shadow work itself, understanding what is shadow, what's the function, and then developing a little toolkit of ways to learn to speak shadow. But we're here as coaches, learning together and from and with each other. I've never met a coach who isn't passionate about developing their craft. So the work is going to be really or the core competencies are woven through. So the point of learning shadow in this context is going to be underscoring and strengthening our understanding of how we show up as a coach through the lens of particularly core competencies 4 to 7. So not the bookends so much, these middle competencies, which I'm going to look at in a moment. And then holding and underpinning and grounding all of the work will be exercises in self-compassion. Really important, because when we start to learn the language of shadow, we tune into the body, we're looking for those interoceptive signals. And often one of the ways that we feel shadow, that we kind of know that there's something there, it can often be a slightly ouch feeling, something we might wince at, or a cringe. There may be shame. Things are in the shadow for a reason. So making connection with that stuff can feel a little challenging at times. So for me, if we're going to start learning the language of shadow, we do it with that grounding of self-compassion so that we can stay present. We're resourced to really be present with those feelings as they emerge. And this just increases our range and our capacity as a human first, and therefore as a coach secondly. So all of these are the kind of 3 key touchstones that we're going to be moving throughout the weekend. So just to give you a flavour, I'm intending to build your shadow toolkit. And as part of the toolkit, there's some key components: projection, polarities, parts, and patterns. Through exploring those 4 different kind of modes, what this does all the time is take us back to deepening our understanding of our presence in the coaching space, what takes us out of presence, and then what it means to be in presence. So those 4 Ps are in service of our relationship and our understanding and our connection to presence. As I say, the 4 key core competencies that we're going to be focusing on are how we cultivate trust and safety. I've talked a little about interoception as the way that we understand and interpret the kind of cues and triggers within our own system. And we'll just touch on and explore a little kind of how neuroception plays such an important role in cultivating trust and safety. So all of those under the surface signals that we're unconscious of, that may bleed through in the moment. So if I'm triggered by something internally, if there's something from my shadow that gets activated, it can disrupt the connection and the sense of safety between me and the client. Presence, such a vital part of what we're going to be looking at through the weekend. So how do we maintain? How do we know when we're in and we're out? So just refining the subtleties, our ability to pick up on the nuances and the subtleties of presence is a key part of the weekend. Listen actively. Of course, what we're talking about here in particular is listening internally, that moment by moment. So going inside, interpreting, understanding, as well as listening to the signals, the messages that we're receiving, anything that doesn't quite sit right. Shadow gives us the ability to kind of go in and have a poke around and really listen. What's being communicated from my unconscious here? So a different kind of listening actively to our own systems. And evoking awareness. The one thing that I'm so keen on is that coaches are clear that this weekend is an opportunity for you to understand more about who you are, understanding and getting to know what you don't know about yourself, as opposed to learning a load of shadow things that you can do to a client. So for me, in this context, it's evoking awareness for ourselves. It's enriching our experience of understanding who we are and therefore how we coach. So evoking awareness, it's experiential, first and foremost. inevitably, your coaches, I know, you're going to take these things away. They're going to kind of be woven in and through who you are and how you work. So ultimately and inevitably, it will also lead to kind of evoking greater awareness with your clients too. But I just wanted to set it up in that way initially. And then finally, I mean, this stuff's just gorgeous. Gorgeous anyway, but really gorgeous and important when it comes to being a kind of counterbalance to shadow. Compassion is the polarity of shame. Can't feel both at the same time. So consciously and intentionally dialing up and having, again, a toolkit. I'm going to introduce a range of different practical tools that you can use to deepen your pathway, to create even more pathways for self-compassion. This stuff is just good and gorgeous to have in your toolkit anyway, and it's going to be interwoven through the weekend. So you've got a lot of different opportunities to go on a bit of journey with some of these tools and techniques that are taken from compassion-focused therapy and mindfulness self-compassion as well. So that's it. I tried to be pithy. It's a struggle when you're so enthusiastic about the material, but that was my best pithy version, just to give you a flavour and to give you a bit of an overview. We're going to be meeting in the beautiful Charney Manor in Oxfordshire, great transport links. We'll have the place to ourselves. It's fully catered. You'll have your own room, so you'll have a little sanctuary, a little place to return to in between the sessions. It will be immersive, but it will be incredibly supportive. A place when coaches come together, always create that atmosphere of peer learning, peer support, and we're going on an adventure together. So I'm really looking forward to learning from you and with you in this space. If you have any questions, please drop me a line. And if you're ready to book, there's a link to my website. So stop sharing so that I can say goodbye to you. Thanks so much, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.